When Zachary Hayes opened his eyes, he took a deep breath, feeling the unfamiliar cold stone wall surrounding him. His body bore the marks of the blows he had taken on the battlefield. Every muscle ached, his head throbbed. But the real pain was in his mind. He was imprisoned. Being a captured commander was a heavy burden on his honor. This was a space prison. Zachary Hayes, a human commander who once held tactical superiority over his enemies, was now in their hands. Beyond the bars, a dark cell, filled with the scent of iron, stretched out before him. The heavy metal door had only a small opening, allowing just enough air for the prisoners to breathe. But even that air felt trapped. For a while, he sat in silence, gathering his thoughts. He knew he had been betrayed by his own team. A grave mistake had been made in the war, but he was the one paying the price. The real issue was that even a commander like Zachary could fall captive. In the early days, the Thalon guards paid no attention to him. Humans were known for not surviving long in this prison. Hayes began to make small moves to draw attention. His first step was observation. He studied the guards' patrol times, the habits of the other prisoners. In this alien environment, he needed to learn every detail to survive. One night, the silence of the prison was broken only by the distant echo of footsteps and the sharp clanging of metal on bars. Zachary knew this moment would come. A hulking Thalon guard was walking toward him. "Humans don't last long here," the guard said, a condescending look in his eyes. To him, humans were short-lived, weak creatures. But Zachary found strength in that look. While the guard underestimated him, he was making a grave mistake. When the guard forced Zachary to stand, he used all the strength he had been holding back. As soon as he stood, he locked eyes with the guard. "Don't underestimate me," he said, his voice firm and resolute. At that moment, he swiftly struck the guard's baton. In just 2 steps, he had thrown the guard off balance. The Thalon, stunned, hit the ground hard, his head crashing against the iron bars. The other prisoners watched this scene from behind the bars. It was the first time they had seen a human stand up to this massive alien. When the guard collapsed from Zachary's blow, all eyes turned to him. Something had changed in that moment. Zachary was no longer just a prisoner. He had become a figure to be reckoned with in the prison. This confrontation had caught the attention of all the species in the prison. More than Zachary's strength, it was his composure and strategic maneuver that stood out. The other prisoners saw that he could plan, that he could take down an enemy when they least expected it. The Thalons, in particular, were blinded by their physical superiority. But with every move, Zachary demonstrated his tactical mind. For Zachary, however, this was only the beginning. He was now known by both the guards and the prisoners. Survival here meant playing by the rules of the prison, but Zachary was determined to write his own. After Zachary Hayes's first victory in the prison, all eyes were on him. Under the stern gazes of the guards, the Thalons and other prisoners no longer looked at him the same way. The dining hall filled up at the same time every day. Hundreds of prisoners from different species lined up to get their meals. The tension among them was so high that a fight could break out at any moment. Behind Zachary in line stood a massive, over 2-meter-tall alien named Yurnak. He was from the Grak species, a race feared even by the Thalons. As Zachary waited in line, he felt Yurnak's voice behind him, deep and rough. "Human, your turn is over. Step aside." Zachary took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and thought to himself that he needed to be patient. But the mocking tone in Yurnak's voice had already drawn the attention of the other prisoners. Their eyes were on him again, filled with scorn. Stepping aside would mean backing down, and that would cost him the respect of both Yurnak and the other prisoners. Slowly, he turned around and locked eyes with Yurnak. "Wait your turn," he said in a calm but threatening tone. Yurnak responded with laughter. At that moment, the Grak's clawed hand reached for Zachary's meal tray, but it froze for a second as Zachary swiftly raised his own hand. "If you touch me again," Zachary said, "you'll have more than just the guards to deal with. You'll be in trouble with me." Yurnak laughed loudly as he stepped closer. You're just a human, weak and worthless." As he finished his sentence, his massive claws landed on Zachary's shoulder. This was the move that lit the fuse. In a swift motion, Zachary grabbed Yurnak's wrist and threw himself to the side, throwing the Grak off balance. Despite his massive size, Yurnak was caught off guard. With a quick movement, Zachary kicked the back of Yurnak's knee, sending him crashing to the floor. The loud thud of the impact echoed through the hall, silencing the other prisoners. Yurnak's massive body hit the ground with a reverberating crash. Yurnak growled as he tried to get up, but Zachary didn't give him the chance. He pressed his knee into Yurnak's throat. "I gave you one warning," he said coldly. "Don't ever try to underestimate me again." At that moment, every prisoner in the hall held their breath. As they watched Yurnak try to recover, even the Thalan guards hesitated for a moment. Zachary's victory was a direct challenge to the Thalan's authority and the established order among the prisoners. But Zachary didn't stop there. He began to engage with other prisoners as well. He learned about their cultures, began to understand their way of thinking. One night, a Thalan guard named Karak came to Zachary's cell. Karak knew he had lost control in the prison, and he was irritated by Zachary's rise. Approaching Zachary with a cold expression, he said, "Your kind won't last long here, human. You're nothing but a mistake. You're not even worth killing." With each passing day in the prison, Zachary Hayes grew stronger, instilling respect and fear among both the prisoners and the guards. His strength came not only from his physical abilities but also from his strategic intellect. The alliances he formed among the other prisoners were paving the way for his escape from this hell. One day, a Thalan named Varric, one of the highest-ranking officers in the Thalan hierarchy, entered Zachary's cell. Varric was a large, imposing Thalan with a fierce gaze and extensive combat experience. He was disturbed by Zachary's disruption of the prison's established order and wanted to regain control. When he entered the cell, Zachary was sitting with his eyes closed, meditating. Varric stood before Zachary and spoke in a cold voice. "Human, you've made too much noise here. You've turned the entire order upside down. The guards can't control you, and the other prisoners listen to your words. But remember, this prison is ours. We can hold a prisoner like you here forever." Zachary opened his eyes and looked directly into Varric's. His calm expression showed that Varric's threats did not affect him. He slowly stood up and approached Varric. "You can indeed keep me here forever," Zachary said in a steady but determined tone. "But then you will face a much bigger problem." Varric furrowed his brows at Zachary's words. What problem could that be? Zachary took a deep breath, knowing how crucial this moment was. "I am not just a prisoner here. I am a leader across the galaxy. I have formed an alliance among the species in this prison. I have earned their respect, and if you continue to hold me here, that alliance could become a significant threat to you." Varric hadn't expected such confidence from Zachary. He paused for a moment but then smiled mockingly. "People like you love to talk big. But in my eyes, you're still just a human. We Thalans have crushed species like yours on the battlefield." Maintaining his composure in the face of this challenge, Zachary responded, "Yes, there were those among the ones you crushed. But I am one of the survivors. And survivors never stop fighting. If you cooperate with me, I can offer you a strategic advantage in the galaxy." Varric was taken aback by Zachary's boldness. Unaware that Zachary was a famous human commander, he realized that Zachary's daring statements had forced the Thalans to be cautious. The stern expression on Varric's face softened momentarily. "You Thalans rely solely on your power. But you don't realize that wars are won not only with swords and weapons but also with intelligence. My diplomatic skills and intellect could be a significant opportunity for you in intergalactic affairs. If you continue to keep me here, the order in this prison will be disrupted. But if you release me, I could become an ally." Varric, inwardly beginning to worry about Zachary's intelligence and alliance-building ability, recognized the threat he posed to the Thalans. However, he wanted to know if this human was truly a galaxy-renowned commander. Varric decided to research the Thalan archives to gather more information about Zachary. As Varric's men conducted research on Zachary Hayes in the galactic database, they stumbled upon shocking information. Zachary was one of humanity's brightest commanders, frequently mentioned in intergalactic wars. His strategic intellect, superior tactics on the battlefield, and success in diplomacy had made him a legend on many planets. This revelation deeply shook Varric. They had seen him as just an ordinary human prisoner, but now they realized they were dealing with a famous intergalactic commander. This information led the Thalan commanders to view Zachary not as a prisoner but as a potential ally. An alliance with him could provide the Thalans with a strategic advantage in the galaxy. When Varric returned to Zachary's cell, he approached him with a different demeanor. "We now know who you are," Varric said, his voice softer this time. "You are not just a prisoner. You are a leader. We understand the order you've established in this prison, and we want to make a deal with you." Zachary had anticipated Varric's new attitude. A slight smile on his face indicated that victory was near. "A deal?" he asked. "What kind of deal?" Varric took a deep breath. "We will release you. However, we want you to form an alliance with us. This cooperation could be a significant advantage for the Thalans in the galaxy." Zachary had been waiting for this offer. Forming an alliance with the Thalans would grant him his freedom while further enhancing his power in the galaxy. "Agreed," Zachary replied. When the prison doors swung wide open, Zachary Hayes emerged as one of the galaxy's most powerful commanders. Guards and prisoners alike gazed at him with admiration. He would now be remembered not just as a human but as one of the legendary leaders of the galaxy. I hope you had a good time. If you liked my story, do not forget to comment and subscribe to my channel. Goodbye. See you in the next story.